What are we up to today? Well, we're in an echoey room, and I've been given some special permission in light of the coronavirus outbreak. And so today we're making soap. Now, I had previously made soap before all of this outbreak became a big problem and without any connection to it, but now, because we can't find soap in the supermarket, I've been granted special permission to operate in the kitchen and even to use the crock pot, because we're going to make hot mix soap or hot process soap so that it's ready a little bit sooner. So, what are we doing this with? Well, I've been saving bacon fat for a while in used baked bean tins, so I've got quite a bit of it. The other tin's holding the camera up at the moment. Now later on we are going to get a delivery from the butcher of actual fat, like offcuts, tallow was the word we're looking for, beef fat, and we're going to render that as well. But while I'm waiting for all that to arrive, I thought I'm going to do a hot process soap using bacon fat. Now we have an air fryer, which I'll show you and show you how we actually came to get this. I have one of these little air fryers made by Philips. It really needs a clean out because we've done a lot in it, but it has this little basket here, and all the fat, as you might see, we haven't cleaned it out today. It's due for it. All the fat from our bacon drips through, renders out nicely, gets rid of all the water, and the bacon gets nice and crispy and delicious. The outcome is usually little blocks of soap like this, which are now quite solid. They're not pretty, but they work, and it's actually not bad soap. So those ones didn't smell real great because I didn't put anywhere near enough scent in them, and I used these little molds to do that. Today I'm doing something different. I'm going to be using this that I prepared ahead of time. I've prepared a lot ahead of time this time. We're going to be forcing it all into one big block in here, letting it do its thing, and then when it's almost set, we'll be cutting it into individual blocks from there. Hopefully things look a little bit prettier when we do that. I have a non-metallic stirrer, which this is PVC sheeting. It's an offcut. Got our plastic stuff here. I still don't have scales, something I should have prepared for, but I've got no money at the moment, so I'm going to do it by volume again. That worked reasonably well last time. I have a stick blender and obviously caustic soda, which is great, and it actually lists great for making soap on the label here. I do have a 1 kilo container of this as well. I found at Bunnings the other day, but I've used about a third of this to make about 2 kilograms of soap. So in actual fact, that's probably all I need really to make soap till the end of this whole situation's over. But I couldn't find isopropyl alcohol anywhere. We're having trouble finding soap. I've got good Irish Spring imported soap from the US that we'll be running out of in the near future, and that's hard to get. It's expensive and it's something special. So there is a couple of things I don't have here yet. We want fragrance and colour. Let's find that. So I had a rummage through the cupboards, and this is what I found. I found some green food colouring. Whether or not this is going to be a great idea, I don't know. We found eucalyptus, we found vanilla, and we found peppermint. Now, I'm partial to the peppermint. The vanilla didn't work last time, but I added way too little. My financial manager, who's granted me the use of her kitchen for the day, says that eucalyptus is her choice. So, I think we're going to do those two. We're going to put them away, and I think we're going to do the whole lot in one batch. Alright, so the next thing we need to do is, this time, this fat that I've got here is not filtered. There's chunks of stuff in there. So, we are going to spin around here. I found my old camping pot, because I'm not allowed to use the good stuff apparently. And I'm going to warm up all the fat in here once I've dried everything out thoroughly, and try and get all that sediment to fall to the bottom. And I've got the crock pot heating up over here, and that's warming up a bit. So that should be ready to go fairly soon. Alright, let's start getting things measured out and dried. Alright, so before I do much else, I need to get all this scooped into a pan and get it all heated up so that we can actually do something with it. We can filter out all the sediment. I'm going to spoon this out so I exclude some of the sediment in the process. Then we'll have to measure out how much we have, which is going to be fun. Alright, let's get the other jars in. Alright, so we've got all our fat in here. This stuff's not as clean as the last lot, so I definitely need to do this process. Now I'm going to time lapse this bit. So I'm going to fire up my little GoPro here and get the time lapse underway. You can watch this bit and then I'll do more talking and rambling afterwards. Nice and liquid now, and if I gently scrape off the bottom I can sort of see a little bit of junk coming up there. It's hard to see, but there is some there. Letting this cool a moment so that it becomes a little more viscous on the bottom and stick some of that down, and also so it doesn't melt the plastic measuring cups. While I've been waiting, I've worked out my ratio from last time I did this, because mostly I go back to my videos to remember my notes too. Anyway, the ratio between fat to water is 5.5 to 1, and ratio of fat to soda is 15.5 to 1. That's the ratios I ended up using last time from a Nile Red video, which I think is linked in my previous video, but I'll add the link on the description here as well, of the same video that inspired this whole soap making process. In the meantime, I've got this warming up. And now I haven't measured out my caustic soda yet because I don't know exactly how much fat I've got. So we'll let that cool off, we'll measure that out, and then we'll do some maths. I've had a little sneaky idea on how I can bypass making everything messy. Shortcuts often don't work well for me, but I can see where my level right against that little screw is there. I figure I can empty all of this straight into my crock pot, and then I can fill the pot with water until I come to the same level there, and I'll have an idea of how much I've had in there by volume. So I'm going to try that. So now is the point of no return. It's when I'm going to contaminate my wife's crock pot and be told off if I don't get this right. So I'm going to tip gently because I don't want to take any of that stuff off the bottom. I'm hoping it's all settled out nicely. There we go. My crock pot is nice and hot, so it shouldn't re-solidify. I'm going to leave just that little bit in there. Oh, I can see that there's not too much. That's alright. Alright. That's about as much as I can get out without losing that. Now's when I fill up with water and see how much I had. I'll do that off camera. Okay, so I did my measurements and it turns out I had 1.25 litres of fat, or 1250 ml, which means I'm going to need 227 ml of water and about 80 ml of soda. Now, if you were to do this by weight, it would be about 160 grams. I'm operating on the assumption that soda is about half as dense as water, so I'm about halving that when I'm measuring by volume, along with the fact that it's fairly particulated stuff, there's big granules. That's the ratio that seemed to work relatively well for me last time, so this might not be strictly correct. There's a website, I think it's here, soapcalc.net. Calc, if you can read my writing, .net. Soapcalc.net. You can do all the proper math there. But anyway, this is the ratios I'm going to go with. So now I'm going to measure out my 80 grams or 80 mil of soda. 160 grams, 80 mil. Alright. Anyway, I think I've probably pronounced that wrong. Somebody will correct me in the comments. Otherwise, I will correct it on the bottom of the screen somewhere there. Alright, let's get measuring. Now, it's worth noting I have eye protection on when I'm dealing with this stuff. And these childproof containers don't seem to be childproof, they seem to be adult proof. Alright, so we need about 80, which I've got a little bit less fat than last time, and this is a bit less soda, so It sounds like my math's right. Oh, there's a big hunk in there. I might shut this lid and give it a good shake up to break up that lump. Alright. Now, this stuff does command a little bit of respect. It can be done. It can be done wrong. Let's give it a little bit each time. We're about there. I think that'll be about right. I'd rather there be a little bit more fat than soda. It's what they call super fatting the soap, and this ratio is a little conservative anyway. It should be about 8 to 10% super fat, I think. Now, we're not going to pour water straight in this because we'll have an exothermic reaction and we're going to have a bad day. To quote South Park, we will have pizzaed when we French fried. And it sounds like the local magpie population has smelt the hot fat and is getting hungry. They're out there singing. So let's get my big measuring cup and let's mix some water in with this. Right. Now we're about to mix the caustic soda, also known as lye. I'm doing this with cold water, crucially to start with. There's a little bit of oil residue in here. I'm not sure how well that's going to go. And I have a non-metallic stirring rod. This one's acrylic. I found my old one. Going to mix just a little bit in at a time, and this is going to heat up as it dissolves, so just be wary of that. I'm just adding a little at a time. Yes, magpie, I know, you want food. Wattlebird has showed up now looking for something to eat as well. If the two of them get arguing, usually there's a third party, I think it's a butcher bird, shows up looking for a feed. Definitely got some chemical reaction going here. It's getting nice and hot. Alright, we'll jump to when this is ready and we're about to pour. So my caustic soda mix is off the side of the camera here, reacting away furiously. So we're going to plug in the stick blender here. I'm going to get rid of my stick, which is my mixing stick, because I got told I wasn't allowed to contaminate one of the good wooden spoons. Alright. Crucially, don't breathe in the caustic soda fumes. I just got a breath of that and it tastes horrible. Alright, so let's take our mixing stick. Where are we? Yep. Let's get this stuff mixed in while it's hot. This is the point of no returns. This might get time-lapsed. I'm pouring this in. Instantly it turns soapy looking. So we'll give that a bit of a mix. Let's get our stick blender on the job and see how we go. My soap is reacting like lightning, so I'm going to make a ballpark guess about food colouring and smell. I think that should be plenty, and we're going to add a hunk of this, probably a considerable amount, and now we need to really get it going, because that caustic soda is definitely reacting in here. We might have upset our batch of soap, and my colouring has reacted. It's obviously not pH stable, but it's going to be an interesting colour. We might add a little bit more in here and see what we get. Now I've turned my heat off at this stage because that's all we're going to need. And I think the evaporating eucalyptus has given it a frothy effect, so we might have to wait for that to stop evaporating a little bit. But we'll get there. We'll be back. So I've got this removed and sitting in some lukewarm water to cool down slowly so I don't explode the crock pot. And it is starting to solidify nicely. I'm just giving it a stir as I go. A bit of cursory research tells me that overheating the soap isn't necessarily bad, it just makes for an unusual cosmetic effect and considering this is mostly aimed at being functional, I'm not too worried about the looks. And let's turn that tap off. Also, the green dye has obviously reacted with the pH levels at the time and turned bright red, a bit like beetroot juice does, or like a universal indicator. So we can see here the glycerin's starting to sort of recombine a bit into this. Definitely went through a gel phase, so once this gets viscous enough, which will be happening fairly soon, we will put it into this mold and compress it, and then hopefully by the end of the day we'll have some soap. Yeah, this is starting to cool off nicely now. I'm noticing some bubbles and stuff. There's still a bit of reaction taking place, but that's fine. I'm going to have bright red soap. I was hoping for nicer green eucalyptus-y smelling stuff, but red will do as long as it doesn't look like bacon fat. Will be still achieved. To give you some comparison, it's about 6 weeks on in the first batch and very different colour obviously. So I didn't put any food dye in that one. But anyway, we'll be back. Cleaning up at the moment. I'm hoping my wife doesn't hit me with a giant wooden spoon, but I've managed to compress everything in here. Just wanted to have a look at the lather. This is okay, so I am under strict orders to clean up after myself, but there's no dishwashing detergent in here. This is actually the lather it's producing. I didn't need to add any coconut oil either, but I'm a little nervous now. There's a giant wooden spoon behind me, so I think I need to get on with the cleanup. Alright, so it's the end of the day now, and the soap is semi-solid. Probably a long way from usable, but we might be able to at least remove it from the container now and slice it up. Famous last words. This is what the wax paper was for. And it is coming out little by little. We'll get it out. We'll be back in a moment. Alright, so as far as soap goes, this isn't the greatest texture, but it should still work. Let's see if we can section this off into little bars. It's going to be still quite soft, but it's just about the right consistency to cut. I'm doing moderately sized bars here so that we don't waste it. Alright, I'll flip these back into position again, and I'll do one cut across the other orientation. Then we're going to wash the knife. Now it's important to remember when you're cutting your soap to use the right knife, because this is not a knife. That's not a knife. This is a knife. Alright, so we're out in the shed now. Everything's on the board here. I've got my little overhead light here. These are all going to be some sizable blocks. They are solidifying very rapidly, much more rapidly than the other ones, or the last batch. In any case, they don't look cosmetically that great. I could probably trim them up, but I think a couple of moments under some water and they'd probably start to look like rounded blocks of soap anyway. But they function as soap, and my workshop smells vaguely of eucalyptus now, not overpowering, just a little bit. There's a funny marble texture in here. Next time I do this, I'll probably back the temperature off. I'm no expert in soap making, but it is really simple with 2 ingredients. It's really just any kind of fat or oil and caustic soda is really all you need, and a minimum of tools. So yeah, I'm going to leave these set for a few days. I'm going to cut the video here because everybody's asking me how to do this, and I just wanted to do a brief amateur's overview of soap making There are loads and loads and loads of soap making videos on YouTube, and some of them go right into detail. You can pick any sort of level you want. Mine's just a quick little video to say, hey, it can be done in a desperate time. This is what you can do with your leftover waste product, especially if you can't find it in the supermarket, which is why we're doing it. So I hope you liked the video. Comment away, it's all good, and we'll see you with something else interesting in the near future. I've got a few other things. I think I've got a Play-Doh soap kit. I might cover that at some point. And I'm going to look at a few basics while this coronavirus thing's happening. I'm going to look at a few basic things that I'm doing, and a little bit of cooking. Maybe how to make pasta, because there's people that are having trouble finding that too. So I'm just going to cover, whilst I'm stuck at home for this next few weeks with my apprentice, I'm going to teach her some skills and also try and cover some stuff that might help you guys through things too. All right, let's cut this quits, or let's cut it now, call it quits. All the unscripted mistakes I make when I'm tired. And we'll see you in the next video. So, hope it was fun.